What's up, everybody? Welcome to a brand new episode of the 5280 podcast on the MHRT Network. I'm your host, as always, Manungus Creevy, alongside my co-host Cameron Parker and Gage Madrid. No idea where Glenn's at. That old motherfucker probably forgot that we had a show because he's old and doesn't remember.
Come on, Glenn.
I know. Whatever, old guy. We don't care. Change your diaper, sir. Now I don't remember where I was going. Oh, make sure you head on over to the MHRT Network. Check out all the shows we've got. We got shows Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, and then Neighborhood on game days. Also, make sure you head over to Broncos Syndicate on YouTube, hosted by Gage Madrid. Absolutely amazing content, videos every single day for the most part. I don't want to put you on the hook for something. For the most part, videos every single day, all Broncos related. And then I suppose you can check out mainly Broncos on Wednesday nights on the MHRT Network, hosted by Cameron Parker. Head on over there and check it out as well. Also, give us a subscribe, a thumbs up, and a like on the videos. Would greatly appreciate that as well. All right. So before we get into anything, and we do have a ton to get into, how you guys doing?
Doing well. The Broncos are on a 5-game winning streak. It's absolutely it's definitely a great time to be a Broncos fan and a content creator, I should say.
Yes, it truly is. It's a special time here in Broncos country. I feel like we need to take a minute to appreciate what we have here because we're 6-2 for the first time since 2016. Fans will complain. It's the nature of what they do. But at the end of the day, man, we haven't had it this good in a long time, and we need to savor every second of it.
Manungus picked a bad week for no pod during the game. Granted, it would be nice to see if Bill could refrain from his wanting Stiddy to start soapbox. I'm sorry. I was busy on Sunday. I was not able to do the show, but we saw Jarrett Stidham, and he didn't do diddly squat, so it's fine. Bill can just deal with it.
He did have a beautiful victory.
Handoff. He had a good handoff. It was great.
Yeah, and the victory formation is the best play in football, baby. So
yeah, there we go.
That was right. Just elite form on that kneel down.
That's
Kurt Bankert would be proud.
I didn't hear any knees crying. It was great.
All right, so I'm going to wait until a little bit more people are in here, and then I'll pull up that graphic, and then we'll get some takes on that. But going off of what Gage said, that we just need to be happy with what's going on. The Broncos right now are number 3 in the playoffs. Obviously, the playoffs are still a little bit away, but we do have playoff seeding. Right now, we're number 3. The funny part is that number 1 is the Colts, and number 2 is the Patriots, and that throws me a little bit. But the Broncos are number 3 in playoff
seeding. Is it
seeding.
2014 again?
Yeah, I was gonna say
probably.
Yeah, it's like we hopped in a DeLorean, and it's like Ben Roethlisberger back at quarterback, and Peyton Manning is with the Colts, and the Colts are good again. And no, it's just it's like it is definitely one where it's like, what is going on here? You got the Patriots being good again. Did I am I in a coma that I'm finally going back in time, or am I one of those types of situations?
All right, let's pull. So I wanted to pull this up. I saw it on Twitter. I'm still calling it Twitter. I don't care if they call it X. Whatever. It's Twitter.
It's always going to be Twitter.
It's Twitter.
I still call it Ballerina.
Whatever. But there was a graphic on there asking about different eras of wide receivers. So I wanted to bring it up to you guys. Which decade of wide receivers was the best? You got the 90s with Jerry Rice, Michael Irvin, Tim Brown, Chris Carter. 2000s with Randy Moss, Terrell Owens, Marvin Harrison, and Torrey Holt. 2010s with Calvin Johnson, Julio Jones, Larry Fitzgerald, Antonio Brown. I'm going to switch this so I can take this thing down for a second. And then the 2020s with Justin Jefferson, Jamar Chase, Devontae Adams, and Tyreek Hill.
Truthfully, I think that this argument, or this debate, if you will, is kind of like subjective, not objective, because it's all kind of like, what's your preference when it kind of comes to it. I don't know, Gage. Why don't you go on this one? If you
see, I'm kind of with you.
Yeah.
Like, this is a generational conversation here. Like, I'm gonna gravitate towards the wide receivers I grew up with. So 2010s is gonna be my answer with Megatron, Julio, Larry, and I guess we could throw Antonio Brown in there. But there are probably some other names I'd put in there ahead of Antonio Brown, just personally.
I mean, Demaryius Thomas, right?
Yes, that'd be the exact one I'd put up, actually, is Demaryius Thomas. So, yeah, 2010s is going to be my answer, but I could see an argument for, quite frankly, all of these. All of these players are incredible generational wide receivers. Just pick your generation, essentially.
I'm leaning 90s. Jerry Rice, Michael Irvin, Tim Brown, Chris Carter. Like, could you have 4 wide receivers with better hands?
Yeah. I mean, because Larry Fitzgerald, like, a lot of people feel like, he had some of the best hands, like on the planet. I don't know. It's just, it's still one of those, like, very, like, subjective and, and it's very much like the conversations we have of, like, who's the greatest of all time, right? Yeah. Like, it is very similar to it.
Tim Tebow, obviously.
But it's like, like, then it's nothing even to, like, hate on, like, the 1990s era or even the 2000s era. Like, I grew up off of I was first introduced in, like, the mid 1990s. And then, like, when I was really starting to kind of get somewhat of a feel was when the 2000s came. And then, obviously, like, there was the Peyton Manning, side with, like, Reggie Wayne and Marvin Harrison. And then you had, like, Brandon Stokely at the early point too, like, with that receiving core. And then you had, like, even in, like, the 2010s, I think the other side of this too is, like, you have like the Wes Welker years, like the Wes Welker years with not just Tom Brady, but also Peyton Manning. So it's just like, there's a lot. I think for me, I probably would go somewhere between the 90s and maybe even the 2010s. I will say, though, there is something that is strongly carrying the 2020s. And it is Jamar Chase and Justin Jefferson, because, like, we're at this point now, and it's funny. Like, I had a friend drop this on our Predominantly Orange chat. Like, Justin Jefferson is already, and at like 26 years old, he's, like, already at 8,000 yards receiving. Already at, like, 8,000 yards receiving. And given the fact that he's been injured and everything, and now kind of going through a bit of some, like, quarterback dilemmas down there in Minnesota, it is absurd to think that, like, we're talking about a wide receiver that may be just under 30, if not a little bit above 30, where he could actually be at, like, 15,000 receiving yards when all is said and done.
I think so. When you look at the 2020s, right? I think the problem that I have with the 2020s, Justin Jefferson's good, Jamar Chase good, Devontae Adams and Tyreek Hill, I don't think those two measure up to the previous eras, you know what I mean? Or the previous decades. Like,
Devontae, I would say, does. Tyreek is debatable, but, like, I don't know, man. Devontae Adams, his best years with Aaron Rodgers.
Mm-hmm.
God.
I don't know. Yeah, it was just something fun I saw. I thought it'd be cool to kind of, I know, that's why I put it that way. I just thought it was something cool to pull up and talk about because, again, it's like talking about who's the greatest quarterback ever. How are we going to judge it? By era? Are we going to judge it by overall? It's just one of those things.
Yeah.
But it was fun.
Well, I think probably to tie a bow on it for me, I probably would tend to the 2010s because there's also another wide receiver in that 2010s that I think probably everybody should be talking a little bit more of, and I don't mean Demaryius Thomas, even though that's that conversation's self-explanatory. Anquan Boldin, in the 2010s was unbelievable. He's like already, I think, in like the top. Like
Andre Johnson too.
Yeah, Andre Johnson as well. Like that year was like peak as far as like physicality, beating up other corners, like actual fights with other quarters on the field at times. Like when you got a chance to see that, and granted, you saw that like even in the later decades and everything, but like that was incredible. Like you had a lot of dominant wide receivers in the 2010s.
Yeah. All right, so a little bit of fun before we get into some negative things that happened over the last couple of days. First and foremost, obviously not with the Broncos, but Cam Scatterboo, that injury was gross. I don't ever want to see that again. Prayers up to him and his family. That looked gross. I mean, is he out? I'm assuming he's out the rest of the year, right?
I think so, yeah.
Okay, because I know that it was a dislocation, but I'm assuming he tore literally everything in there.
It was a
With the way that it was pointing and
it was like a fractured ankle. Yeah, it was disgusting. To look
yeah,
at.
it was gross.
Prayers up to Scatapoo.
Wish him the best. I hope he gets back. He was fun to watch. I think he was going to win Rookie of the Year, personally, but
debatable,
or at least Rookie Offensive Player of the Year, something along those lines. I think he'd win something.
I think it was going to end up being it's going to end up being Tyler Warren.
CTE award. I don't know, something like that. Yes, but Nuggets' skin for Cam was the only thing holding his foot. I know that was gross. Okay.
Yeah.
Talking about injuries, and these obviously were not as bad, but they affect the Broncos. We'll start with the big one. PS2 gets injured. So he initially got injured in his shin, like on the first defensive stand in the end zone covering George Pickens, or was it CeeDee Lamb? No, it was Pickens.
It was Pickens, right? I believe.
Pickens. Kind of grabbed his shin, went off for the last play or two of the defense, and then came right back on and was okay. Then in the second quarter, injured his shoulder. Didn't really look like a lot initially. He was moving it around, trying to loosen it up, and then he didn't come back in the second half. What was the actual injury? Was it a pec or was it his shoulder?
Pec. And it was more specifically a pec muscle injury, which is the good news. If it would have been a pec tendon injury, like a pec tendon tear, then he would have had to have surgery on it because it's hard to wrap and tackle, and he probably would have been out for the rest of the regular season. Okay. This is just going to require rest and recovery, some rehab, and he should be back in 4 to 6 weeks, maybe even sooner than that. Like, I'm hearing even maybe the Washington game is in play here. They did not place him on IR. That's the key. He's not on IR yet, so maybe he's not going to go, and he's just going to miss 4 weeks, including the bye, and come back for the Washington game.
Well, just send him over to Mario. He'll be back in like a week.
I mean, fair, true. Mario would get him right no matter what. And wouldn't surprise me at all if he's already seen Mario since this injury. But
not a paid advertisement, but if you're feeling injured and you want to go somewhere and you live in the Denver area, head on over to Vitanzi Therapy. Don't know the address. I can find it, but I'm not going to look. But head on over to Vitanzi Therapy and talk to Mario.
I will say I cannot confirm nor deny that he will be seeing Mario at some point this week.
Look who just texted. Hold on.
But no, I will say
he didn't tell us that.
But
he said he was traveling last week, not this week.
Bullshit, Glenn.
See?
Yeah, I'm going bull. I am going bull on that one.
I told you guys last week. No, you told us last week about last week.
But
in all seriousness, glad you're okay, Glenn.
No, you're not.
I think with PS2, I think the biggest victory here. Well, there's a couple. Obviously, the Broncos did not choose to put him on IR today. That's the biggest thing. But I think regarding the schedule, the biggest victory is that they have a bye week that's wrapped up into this.
Yes, absolutely.
But yeah, no, it's just it's one where I think that bye week is going to be the biggest component of whether or not they put him on IR or not. And I think the other side of this too, and we'll talk about the game, but like I think the other side of this is the Broncos for the most part are past the meat and potatoes of wide receiver ones and wide receiver twos when it comes to like alphas, because like the fact that they were able to get through a stretch, win both of them, of facing the Cincinnati Bengals of T. Higgins and Jamar Chase, and then getting through with George Pickens and CeeDee Lamb, I think is a big victory here for the now depleted corners.
Yes.
Yeah. And so then you have the question of, well, who fills in? Is it going to be Jahdae Barron? Is it going to be Chris Abrams-Drain? Obviously, I think it's going to be Chris Abrams-Drain. He's the one that stepped in during the game. Plus, we know that Sean already said that Jahdae Barron is more of an inside slot kind of guy, so he'll be doing that. He might rotate like on the outside, but for the most part, he's going to be used inside. So I think it's Chris Abrams-Drain.
Mhm.
And I've been seeing this all over the place, and obviously, I got a phone call from Bill. But like as soon as the PS2 injury was put in there, it's like, oh, we're screwed. We're gonna lose all the games because PS2 is out. It's like, listen, I understand your thought, right? When a backup goes in, you're like, oh, they're absolutely horrible. You could literally put any cornerback in the NFL on the Broncos, and they would be behind Pat Surtain, right? Like, I'm obviously there's going to be a drop off in production because it's PS2. He's a defensive player of the year, best corner in the league. But that doesn't mean that the guy behind him isn't a great corner. He's just not as good as PS2. But nobody is.
I would argue, right, Gage, that, but also too, like Riley's playing at a really, really good level right now. Like he is playing at a cornerback 1 type level right now. I think that that is just something that I think people need to get over themselves. Look,
the only thing I would say to that, and I agree, he is playing at a cornerback 1 level. However, he has got to get those penalties figured out. I don't know whether it's like doing something wrong form wise or if the refs just suck. I don't know, but he is the most penalized corner in the league for defensive pass interference.
Why is that?
There has to be some way to, and again, I'm not a coach. I'm not, you know what I'm saying? Like, I don't know what all is going on, but somehow we need to figure that part of it out. And then there's no complaints at all.
I would say at least, I'm probably being generous here, 60% of those calls on Riley Moss are
crap.
Garbage. Absolute crap.
Yep.
I mean, he is in perfect position, has his head turned right there, playing the ball, whistle, flag, freaking spot foul, horrible.
Perfect
Absolute
example,
garbage.
Giants game, right?
Giants
That's the one
game.
you're talking about? Yeah.
Yes, and I'm talking about the second one that got out in the end zone in the Cowboys game.
Yep.
The first one, CeeDee Lamb cooked him off the line, and Riley had to prevent a touchdown there. He hooked him. There's no doubt about that one. But the second one, Riley's right there. His head's turned. He's in position. He's playing the ball. Absolute bull. And I think it's a reputation thing. Riley Moss has a reputation for being out of position, and these refs are calling this crap strictly off reputation. You think about that Giants one, and Cam and I talked about this last week. That flag came 5 seconds after the play, and it came from the back official who had no way of seeing what was actually going on there. He saw contact. He threw the flag. And, of course, they're going to listen to anybody who throws the flag there, even if maybe there's a younger official or some other official who can clearly see that it's not pass interference. Doesn't matter. The back judge saw it. They're going to go with it, even though it was a bull crap call. So, I'm sorry, man. This is a referee problem. There are plays like that first one against Dallas where Riley gets beat. He's got to grab. Yeah. I'd much rather him grab than give up a big completion right there. You live to fight another down at least. You're not going to have a tackle broken on you and you give up a touchdown. So I understand that fans are frustrated. Go ahead, Cam.
No, and I was just going to say, like, that's the side of it too with Riley. If you're going to talk about, like, saying things he needs to work on, he's a bit grabby. Like, he is a bit grabby. Like, maybe be a little bit less grabby. But I think the other side of this too is, like, everything we've talked about for 4 stinking weeks, if not more, on the show already about Riley Moss is like nearly all the passes that he has to deal with it are back shoulder throws or back shoulder catches, and do you know, like, again, like, I hate to be so repetitive but like, do people not realize one of the most hard defended balls that are coming from a quarterback and wide receiver is a back shoulder catch from Like that is like one of the hardest like balls to defend. And people have the gall to actually be like, well, he's just got to defend that batter. Like specifically the one that just pisses me off the most is the Justin Herbert throw. And he has been criticized for that nonstop. And I am so pissed off at Bronco fans that feel this way. I mean, it is ridiculous. We were talking, and for one, that play in particular was an inches play where Benito has his hand in front of Justin Herbert's face. The pass goes off. The ball is right within Riley Moss's hands where he turns around. The ball is caught by Keenan Allen. It is an inches play. Yeah, he's got to get better and stop being grabby. But those are the kind of plays, more often than not, as of late with Riley Moss, that are happening. Get over yourself, Broncos country, when you are bitching and complaining about something like that when it comes to Riley Moss.
Listen, my wife keeps telling me the inches don't matter. It's how you use it. So just going to throw that out there.
I mean, did you not see the meme from last night? 5 inches short.
5 inches, jeez.
Oh, shit. But another inches play, in my opinion, was the one where Joe Milton, it's in garbage time, he drops an absolute dime to Jalen Tolbert. Joe Milton's got some talent. He can spin it, man, and he can drop some dimes. He dropped one right in the breadbasket, and Riley was in his hip pocket. Riley couldn't have had better coverage on that, but that was just a perfect throw and catch, like most of the completions that Riley gives up.
And it's what Milton does best. It's what Milton does best. He likes to throw the deep ball.
Yep, and that's what that was. It was a gorgeous moon ball.
And you almost have to remind people, look at the best corners ever in NFL history. Deion Sanders, Darrelle Revis, Champ Bailey. They allowed wide receivers to catch the ball, right? You can't stop everything. You can try, but the receiver you're covering at some point is still going to catch a ball.
Those guys are good too. Those guys get paid millions of dollars too. They're going to make their plays, but you're also going to make your plays. Riley gets his just like the receivers get theirs. And we saw that multiple times in this game. Riley had several key PBUs on critical third downs. Yep. Riley was a big reason why the Broncos won this game. He was a big reason why the Cowboys couldn't do shit offensively for the first 3 quarters.
3 catches for 38 yards or 35 yards on CeeDee Lamb, which, by the way, that was the biggest surprise out of everything in that game was that because we were talking all week about it's going to be Riley Moss on George Pickens. It's going to end up being Pat Surtain on CeeDee Lamb. No.
It was the other way around.
It was the other way around. And, and Moss handled CeeDee Lamb like no one's business. And so if we're going to be talking about something and forecasting the future of a future contract here in Denver, that is something I would be highlighting if I was a Bronco fan and then possibly even the front office, because that is going to be warranting at the very least a cornerback 2 type of deal here in Denver. And if you want him to stay, that's the kind of performance that's going to be warranting him a $20 million plus deal on the market.
Yeah. And I do think it's worth talking about Chris Abrams' drain a little bit here, because I think these next few weeks, he's going to become the new Riley Moss. Yeah. He's going to become the guy that defense or that offenses are going to scheme around. He's going to become the guy that's going to get targeted. Riley is going to be the guy who gets targeted less as a result of this PS2 injury. And we did see that a little bit in this Cowboys game in the fourth quarter. Chris Abrams' drain was playing some off soft coverage, so maybe that's a coaching point, and maybe he can be in better position. But Dak Prescott was picking on him. He targeted him 5 times, and KAD gave up completions on all 5 of those targets. So that is something worth noting here. Going up against, in my opinion, now the most underrated quarterback in the NFL in CJ Stroud. People talk about CJ Stroud like he's not good. No, he's still playing like he did his rookie year, but his offensive line sucks and his receivers are nowhere near as good as they were in his rookie season.
Yeah.
So for me, at least, this Texans team is going to be really tough. And I feel like CJ Stroud is going to know that Chris Abrams-Drain might be the weakness in that secondary, and he might start targeting him.
Yeah. And relatively speaking, Chris Abrams-Drain did a fine job. There were moments, a decent amount of moments, he looked confused. And that I think that's going to come with reps. Now, I think the part where I think it's just it got a bit frustrating as Bronco fans is we got so excited for that Chargers game that we saw on that Thursday night where he looked incredible. Like where he looked way better than you would have expected on a primetime game like that in a primetime slot. Like he looked like a lockdown corner. So I think that, when you look at it from the standpoint of like what he was asked for,
playing hooky,
he lied.
He's a liar face.
He did a relatively good job.
Yes, I agree. 100%. I mean, even though sorry, Mike.
No,
even though we criticize him a little bit, like relatively speaking, considering who he had to step in for, he did a fantastic job. And I like Chris Abrams-Drain a lot. I was a big fan of his coming out of Mizzou. I like his game. He's a very physical corner, but he's not the biggest dude in the world. He's 5'11", and I want to say in the 170s. So Chris Abrams-Drain is a guy that may not have the length or the physical tools necessary to always be in perfect position, and he might have a couple of rookie moments out there, even though he's a second-year player. He's still a young player and can still make some rookie-level mistakes out there, but I'm confident he's going to get better and better with reps, and this is going to be a great opportunity for him, but the spotlight's going to be on him these next few weeks as opposed to Riley Moss.
Yeah, and I think that was one of the reasons why they had PS2 on George Pickens instead of CeeDee Lamb, because Riley Moss did not match up well with George Pickens because of how tall he is, how much length he's got, how long his arms are.
It makes you wonder
how jump him. That's why they put PS2 on him. So then it makes you wonder with Chris Abrams-Drain in there, if we do the same thing, do they then put Riley on Pickens and then Abrams-Drain on CD? And I also want to before Cam. Like, I also want to mention, like, people are just railing on Chris Abrams-Drain and how he didn't play all that great in the second half. You have to remember, the guy's coming in cold.
Exactly. Yeah.
In the second half of a game with two great wide receivers, and you're coming in for PS2, who's the defensive player of the year. Yeah, it's not going to look awesome. He played well.
Yeah.
But it's not like we can't sit here and be like, and hold him to PS2 standards, right? Like, you can't do that. He's not going to be there.
Exactly.
But I don't think any of us were upset with the pick in the draft of Chris Abrams-Drain. Yeah. I thought we were all pretty excited. So I think that, like, you give him a little bit of time, he'll be fine.
Well, and that's why I bring up that Chargers game, because it's like we can't expect that, right? Like, we can't expect that as far as the measuring stick going forward for every game. As great as that game was, and him having an interception, looking as, clamped, if you will, on the wide receivers. Like, you're just not going to see that all that often, like specifically with that room of Riley Moss and Pat Surtain, and everything. So, but the fact that, I think you are going to see a little bit more, I think you're going to see a little bit more comfortability, with him now. I don't know what that's going to lead to, but I think that you're going to see a little bit more comfortability. He'll be settled in a little bit more. But I think the other side of this too is you don't necessarily have to be the 6'1", 6'2" corners that can be physical. And I think that's where I've always loved about Chris Abrams-Drain is like he's physical enough due to his height. Well, for one, he has to play as big as he is, being 5'11" and just a tick under 200 pounds. But like, he has to play that way. And you really do see it on tape, the way that he is physical at the tackle point, the physical at the catch point. And I think the other side of this too is like, it's to the point where it's like, I don't think the Broncos add anything to a room. If anything, I'm not saying they're going to sign Levi Wallace, but I'm just saying but I'm just saying, like, if I could see the Broncos bringing in a veteran corner, if it gets to a point that the Broncos need to at least add a corner to the room. But I will say the addition of a guy like Jahdae Barron, they don't necessarily need to. And then Barron, like, we need to talk about Barron. Like, this is a guy who was criticized, and I mean criticized by Broncos Twitter. And I'm calling you out. Yes, Broncos Twitter, for talking about, him as possibly a first round bust, and why are they not playing him as much as they have, and he's getting better. And oh, by the way, too, it's like he's not maybe playing as many snaps, but have we even heard his name up to this point? No. And when you don't hear his name, that's a good thing. That's a good thing. And so, and I think the side of this too with Jahdae Barron that has been so fantastic has been in the last couple of weeks has been the tight end eraser. That job that he did against Jake Ferguson is as good of a job as you ever could have asked for from a corner like that. And we talk so like when we talk so much about putting guys like Pat Surtain on the number one tight end, or anything like of that nature. And in 2015, right, like Aqib Talib on Rob Gronkowski, we like examples of that. The fact we're able to see that and Barron play at such a high level is a big thing. And it's one of the reasons why Gage and I were really preaching the Eagles template, because now you actually have something secondary wise where you can truly mix and match as much as you want with that secondary for the Broncos.
Yeah, Cairo 232 says KD didn't get burnt, still better than Singleton in coverage. Dear God, I hope so.
I mean, that's not a hard thing to achieve, unfortunately, but I completely lost my train of thought. I completely lost my train of thought.
We're talking about Barron.
I had something good. What's that?
We were talking about
Barron. What were we just discussing?
Barron.
I think with Jahdae Barron. Oh yeah, I remember. Broncos country has been complaining for the past 10 years, it feels like, about not being able to cover tight ends. Now they finally have a joker on defense who's covering tight ends. Jake Ferguson was off to one of the best starts for a tight end in NFL history, and he was completely taken away. That interception play, I mean, Barron is with him stride for stride, and he's able to turn around at the perfect time and make that play. That was not easy to do. And I will say this, Jahdae Barron was drafted to be the Broncos' starting nickel. But then Jaquan McMillan came in training camp in the preseason and looked awesome. So awesome that you couldn't take him away from that role. Oh, I agree, Jeff. That was what the actual hell are you doing throw from Dak? But you can't take away the fact that it was still a hell of an athletic play by Jahdae Barron and a really instinctive play as well.
Yeah.
I had something to add to that. Oh, and maybe
I have an excuse, Mike. I smoke pot.
I'm just old, sorry. And maybe this is my opinion, but like everybody's wanting to rank first round picks like 3, 4, 5 weeks into their rookie season. And it's like the ideal thing for a rookie to do is to sit for a year, to sit for 2 years. Like, you don't want your first round pick seeing 100% snap count, right? Because that means that either you drafted way high because you suck, or you had a catastrophic injury and now you have to put the rookie out there. You want them to learn as they go, not throw them out there to the wolves and be like, well, sink or swim, right?
And I think
like, I love how Sean has been handling rookies outside of Bo Nix, because obviously he needed to start. But I love how he's been kind of slowly bringing them in, because now you're starting to see like Troy Franklin. He had a breakout game last game too, right? Like 2 touchdowns, great route running, great catches. Like, we're starting to see that RJ Harvey, rookie. We're starting to see these guys start to grow and start to get better. And that's what you want. You don't want to just throw them out there. You know what I mean?
Yeah, exactly. And I think that's the argument for, you don't necessarily want to baby them as much. And it's also the argument for why the development under Sean Payton and George Payton together has been so good right now, because they've been able to develop the rookies and take their time, and you're starting to see the exponential growth from year 2 to year 3 to year 4, and then they're really starting to become the players that they are now. Example is Nick Benito. Example is Riley Moss. Example is Marvin Mims. Like, do they need to see a little bit more uptick in snaps for him once he's healthy? Absolutely. But like, you're starting to kind of see this to where, the entire rookie class or the young players for this team, you're really starting to kind of see that growth. And Franklin is like the best example of this. He is the best example of that because, we have to remember, like, he is still a little bit of a young player when it comes to the wide receiver position. So you are going to take some lumps. You are going to take some things with him, which is the catching. But did you guys know that he is on pace for 800 yards as a receiver, and almost close to 60 catches? I am taking that every day of the week compared to what we saw last year. So like, that is so much more progress than what we had even seen, last year. And then the running back position, I think the only part there is I think Sean's kind of figuring out that, oh man, we have a really good running back in J.K. Dobbins. And so he's still kind of figuring out how can we mix and match things with,
flies are all over the place.
Mix and match things with RJ Harvey and everything. But like, that was a perfect game. It was a perfect game when it came to that rookie class.
Yeah, and Jeff, I'm glad you brought this up, asking about Jaleel McLaughlin, because that's where we're going to go from the defensive side of the ball to the offensive side of the ball, because we also had a tight end injury in Nate Adkins. It looks like we worked out Mercedes Lewis, who, yes, that Mercedes Lewis, 41 years old, 19 years in the NFL. We also put in, we put in 2 waiver claims on Monday for tight end Brendan Bates and tight end Ben Sims, but we didn't get either because Cleveland and Minnesota had higher waiver claims than we did, so they got them. But it looks like we are working out a Mercedes Lewis, and I know, like, the age freaks me out. But at the same time, like,
he's almost as old as you, Mike.
He's older than me.
He's older
by a couple years. A couple. I mean, if they want, I'll block. Throw me in there. I can't run very fast, but I can block. But like, if all you're going for is a blocking tight end, which it sounds like that's what they're looking for.
Yeah.
Mercedes Lewis is not a bad option.
It's really not, man. He's basically a 6th offensive lineman out there. He's a dog. He's a big dude. Great veteran presence in the locker room. I would be so down for Mercedes Lewis. And don't get me wrong, I don't think Mercedes Lewis would take them out of the conversation for a Hawkinson or a Njoku if one came available at the right price. In fact, I still believe they're going to be aggressive and maybe come away with one of those 2 players, but you still need a true, pure inline blocking tight end, and Mercedes Lewis, he'll do that for you.
Yeah, I agree. I think that the funniest thing about it all is, and
Shannon Sharp want to come back,
right? He looks the part still as far as a tight end. I just think the part that is just so hysterical about the Mercedes Lewis thing is just, there's so much talk about, Hawkinson, Njoku, even Chigigwanku from Tennessee. Like, there's like talk about this, and then it's like I said in the green room. It's like, Sean Payton and George Payton woke up from a siesta and just be like, Mercedes Lewis, yeah. Let's bring him in. It was just so random. Like, it was just so random that no one even saw coming. And I agree with you. Like, I don't think it's going to take them at all from like the Njoku or anything like that. I just think that people need to remember specifically the value, and I hate to trigger people because of it. And I triggered people some on my tweet when I said the Broncos are going to trade for little Jordan Humphrey and Chris Manhertz, but like, I think,
hey, I want Manhertz back. Give me Manhertz all day.
But I think that kind of goes to where I think the value of Manhertz is somewhat missed, in the sense where he may catch a pass here and there. But like, I think the value of having a player like that, who is just a sole extra lineman type blocker, but he's a tight end. And you also have to factor something here that is a bit underrated. We don't have 63 is reported ineligible. They can have Mercedes Lewis be that extra body. They don't have to rely on Frank Crum for those big, massive, 12 personnel packages. So like they can really bring it to a point where, they can kind of do everything. And I think that's one of the reasons why Darnell Washington had always been somewhat on my radar for the Broncos to kind of target. And maybe still that might actually be a thing, because I think he's young enough to where it's one where he's also, I think, a very underrated athlete at tight end. That if the Broncos wanted to do it, they could. I mean, because they did extend Freiermuth there down in Pittsburgh, but I don't think it's going to take him. I think the one that I think people are perplexed by, given the news, is wide receiver. But I think that like there's a case though where if there's any wide receivers that are ever being done when it comes to the Broncos, they're dipping back into the Saints waters, and they're getting either Chris Olave or they're getting Rashid Shaheed.
I mean, Rashid Shaheed would not hurt my feelings at all. Chris Olave, I just don't think it's the right fit, but Rashid Shaheed is a guy who's got next level speed, even faster in terms of acceleration than Nims and Franklin. This dude can fly, and he can get off the line quick. So if you just want a straight line speed merchant, give me Rashid Shaheed. And his route running, I think, is underrated as well. So if they do target wide receiver, I'm kind of with you there, Cam. I think they go into that New Orleans Saints well. But as far as tight end, give me all the tight ends, damn it. Yeah. I want everybody. Yeah. Like receiving tight end, blocking tight end, give me all of them. Like I've been wanting tight ends for years here. I have like an unhealthy obsession with the tight end position. So yeah, just keep pumping those in, man.
Well, then you got Jeff bringing up Jaleel McLaughlin. Like we're not using Jaleel McLaughlin at all. Like Bidet's in there, RJ Harvey, J.K. Dobbins. Those guys are all seeing the field, but McLaughlin's not. Do we put him on the trade block? Do we use him as trade bait? There's also this trade proposal that went around, I guess. I just read it. The Eagles and the Broncos, right? The Eagles get Jaquan McMillan at a 2026 7th-round pick, and the Broncos get a 2026 6th-round pick and a 2027 6th-round pick. I don't like that.
Do you know the backstory about it all, too? Like,
what is that all about?
It's written by a guy named Benjamin Solak, and Benjamin Solak
is God.
And
his name is Ben, so he's already out.
He's also an Eagles fan. And he's a very, very well-known Bo Nix hater. And if you read the
Nick Wright.
And if you read that article, he talks about how the Broncos are pretenders and not contenders, if you will. So but I understand the Jaquan McMillan trade. It's just it's going to cost way more than
2 6th-round picks.
Yeah, exactly. Than the 6th-round picks. It's stupid. And like, use your brain. I mean, good job cosplaying as an analyst. To use your words back on you.
Yeah.
Good job cosplaying as being a really bad analyst.
And I mean, there are teams out there that need a running back. Is there a team that you could see a Jaleel McLaughlin fit? Because I don't.
I mean, I do.
I don't think he's not a trade value.
But I was gonna say I do see a team, but he's not going in division.
Chargers.
Chiefs, actually.
Nope.
Really? Why? With Pacheco and Pacheco just got hurt, didn't he?
Yeah, Pacheco just got hurt.
And screw
they
him.
got Brashard Smith though. I mean, Brashard Smith is like Jaleel on steroids.
Whatever happened to Clyde Edwards-Helaire?
No, but they also
is he still there?
They also have Kareem Hunt, who's like in the mid 30s,
75 years old,
and they like those types of running backs too. Yeah. So. But I mean, it could even be the Chargers, right? Like I can even see the Chargers, but obviously we're talking about stuff that happens in.
Yeah,
I've even seen some Bronco fans even propose the idea of Michael Mayer be traded. It's like, look, cool.
Not happening.
You're talking about an in-division trade. The only in-division trades that you see happen are the ones that are like boneheaded moves, like when the Lions at that one point helped out the Minnesota Vikings in trading T.J. Hawkinson to the Minnesota Vikings, and that at that time worked out quite well for the Minnesota Vikings. And then
it worked out better for the Lions in the long run.
Relatively speaking, not the initial start of it. And then obviously the recent one is Cleveland and Cleveland in that one for the Joe Flacco stuff.
Since Cleveland can't do anything right.
Browns are going to brown, man.
Browns are going to brown. All right, so that covers the injuries with PS2, Nate Adkins, the potential there. Let's get into this game. This was a game where I didn't really have anything to complain about. I mean, that Bo Nix interception that happened, it was just a bad throw. I don't know what else you can say, right? Just a bad throw. But you look at one of our biggest concerns at the start of the year was the offensive line, right? We kept struggling through the first 3-4 games. Like, what in God's name's going on the line? Man, I'm loving Palcho at guard. Mm-hmm. And Wattenberg figured it out. So, is Palcho now the guy that's going to replace Ben Powers so we get out of that contract next year? I
don't know. But I think the most important thing here is the Broncos have depth. That's the most important part. It's like, and frankly, it's hard to say this because I don't know whether or not he was, if what we're seeing from Palcho would have been exactly what we've seen from Gargiulo, but it makes it to where the depth that you have is very impressive right now. So once Gargiulo is back healthy, you have a very nice little conversation of like, oh wow, we have maybe almost like a new Mundungus Throckmorton on our roster with Alec Palczewski, who could play tackle, he could play guard, Well,
and Palczewski was initially McGlinchey's backup, right? At right tackle,
and he played well last year.
Yeah,
he played well enough last year in spot duty. So and Ben Power stuff, I think people, ourselves included, were kind of hating on him too in preseason and everything in back-to-back years.
I mean, it's not like he didn't deserve it in the preseason, though.
But still, what happens in the regular season? The switch turns on and he becomes a really good guard. And I think at that point, you really kind of got a glimpse of like how valuable he is on your roster when, specifically that last week, with the Giants game and even the week before, just how valuable he is. And so I think that just relatively speaking, I think the Broncos have done quite well with that offensive line. And I think it's too soon to say he stole a job because I myself went through that same dilemma when it came to Mike McGlinchey, and Mike McGlinchey is now having as good, if not equally season as Garrett Bowles on that other side. So it's just like, I think we're at the point where it's a little bit too soon to be thinking about, did he steal his job? Now, if it's playing to the point where it's about as equal as Powers, you may or may not have a conversation.
Well, and that was one of the things I was going to bring up. And Gage, my question to you is, you get Gargiulo back, right? So you have him for next year. You have Palcho there available. You have Ben Powers and Mike McGlinchey with probably the two most expensive contracts on the offensive line. Do you then drop those contracts and trust Gargiulo and Palcho in those spots now? Perfect time to freeze.
Freeze frame.
Perfect time. He looks like he's really thinking about it really hard.
He's playing a very elite game of red light, green light.
And again, I know that this is like thinking into the future, right? But now you have Russell Wilson's contract gone. We don't have to deal with that anymore. So then do you continue to try to make those financial decisions where, okay, Quinn Miners was worth it, but he's also like 25 years old. Now you've got Gargiulo and you've got Palcho, who are also in their early 20s. Do we replace the older guys on the line and go with those two and pay them a whole lot less money?
This is still I'll let Gage speak, but this is still about Bo Nix here, and I'm not messing the chemistry up of that offensive line.
I think he's been playing.
He's been playing. That's what he was saying, Cam. He's been playing.
He has the best freeze frames, I swear.
There he goes. Hey! Earth to Gage. Hello? Oh, now he's gone. Now he's totally gone. All right. McGlinchey, slightly overpaid, but definitely a great piece of the puzzle. No, I have no doubts about how good McGlinchey. Oh, I'm just going to take him out of here, move him over here. How's that?
I guess the universe just doesn't want me to answer this damn question.
Well, now it's your turn to answer the question. And again, this is looking into the future
So,
at maybe.
Ben Powers has been playing at a high level. So I don't believe the Broncos are going to look to replace him. McGlinchey could be a little more interesting because I have seen a little regression in run blocking, but he's still blocking his ass off in pass pro. That contract might be worth the conversation in a few years. No, I do not live in Evergreen. I live in Denver proper. But that could be more of a conversation, I feel like. But actually, where I think this depth opens you up is the center position. Once you get Gargiulo back, once you have Powers back, you've got Throckmorton, you've got Palcho. You still have Luke Wattenberg, who's been better, but you don't have a long-term center solution with him. Maybe one of these other guys could be that.
That's a great twist on that, Gage, because I think that now that you've gotten the taste of Palcho at guard, look, I don't want to spitball too much. I just know that the Brett Bielema offensive line program has turned out some gents in the NFL when it came to the offensive linemen. And I know that when it comes to looking at that, I have to at least think that there is a cerebral nature when it comes to being an offensive lineman in that factory, in that Brett Bielema factory. So I think there is a very real chance that Palcho has an opportunity to be our starting center either next year or possibly 2 years from now.
I completely agree with that. Like, for me, Alex Palczewski, I've heard people talk about. So, yeah, he can handle the mental side of the center position. It makes complete and total sense for me.
He's in the closet, Jeff. He's not in the basement.
There's an episode of South Park about this.
No, my laptop has a really crappy Wi-Fi card, so I have to route my internet through my phone, and it only holds up for an hour, and then I have to restart it again. So, yeah.
Wow.
Excuses.
I know.
But yeah,
if I weren't poor, this wouldn't be a problem.
Listen, I'm right there with you.
Yep.
All right, so we go from the offensive line, which honestly has started to become a strength of the Broncos again.
The strength the last 2 years.
You can see it in this game, right? Against the Broncos and the Cowboys. We just killed them. And like every single game we've complained. Poor play calling. The play calling is horrible. What's going on with the play calling? The play calls that were made in this game, and again, this is my opinion. If you guys think I'm wrong, please speak
You're
up.
wrong.
I didn't see
wrong.
that. I swear.
You're wrong.
Kick you both out. I didn't see that big of a difference in the play calling.
Yeah.
Right? But the execution was way better. Blocking downfield was great. Catching the ball was great. Bo was extremely accurate except for one or two overthrows. I thought the execution was awesome. But the play calling was about the same. So obviously it's not the play calling.
The only thing that was different from a play calling perspective was there were like 2 screens, 2-3 screens. But even then, and we actually talked about this on mainly last week with Jordan. But it was just like, and we actually even touched on this too, like the screen game, Gage, like half of them, if not 3/4 of them, if not 100% of them, were all about execution on the perimeter and the perimeter blocking. That was better. The perimeter blocking was better. Everything was better. It was BTA the entire game when it came to the Broncos versus the Cowboys. Frankly, it has been BTA the last 3 meetings between the Broncos and Cowboys. That is something of note, by the way. So
sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off, but let me.
I cut you off too. It's fine.
I swear that I heard this in the press conference. Didn't Sean Payton say that they switched up practices a little bit?
Now, There is a very underrated thing here that I think happened this week. And it was when they turned the Wednesday preparation from Wednesday preparation to Sunday preparation on a Wednesday. That, I think, needs to be talked about a lot. Because frankly, if it's true, it's true. But shout out Luca Evans, who broke this. It was Bo Nix's idea. It was Bo Nix's idea to do the Sunday preparation on Wednesday. And if we're seeing that product on the field in that kind of situation going forward, I am taking that 10 times out of 10. And frankly, I think every practice is somewhat different, but I think if you're doing your Sunday preparation on Wednesday, that just means on Friday, possibly even Saturday, your walkthroughs are going to be your simple walkthroughs for what you just went through on Wednesday.
Yeah, for sure. And I think it's a good thing in terms of just switching up the routines and just trying something new, because what was working previously one year, it might not work as well this year. So I'm all for that stuff. And it goes to show that the Broncos are willing to evolve. And in terms of the screen game, I think there's a reason why we only saw 2 screens in this one. It's because the drop back pass game was working early, and Sean didn't feel like he had to push the easy buttons, which are the screen passes. I've talked about on Broncos Syndicate, I want Sean to find some different easy buttons, like quarterback runs, for example. I want to see more designed quarterback runs that can open things up in your ground game with your running backs as well as your pass game. But Sean likes the screens. He didn't feel like he had to push the easy button because those drop back concepts were working. It's also worth acknowledging they were going against the worst defense in football.
Well,
I also said on Broncos Syndicate, sorry, Mike, said on Broncos Syndicate that if this was not the week that they got their shit together on offense, then it was not going to happen. So, should we expect this level of offense moving forward? Probably not. But can we expect something better than what we've seen early on this season? Absolutely.
Well, and that was one thing I was going to say. Like, you look at the last 3 games where we had a lot of screens, and you had a good front 7. I mean, you had the Giants, who've got a great front 7, a good pass rush. You've got the Jets, who have a good front 7, good pass rush. And you've got the Eagles, who ended last year with the best front 7, best pass rush in the league. So, yeah, there's going to be more screens. You didn't need them in this game. Nobody could cover anything.
Cowboys front 7, poo-poo. And their secondary, equally poo-poo.
Yeah, and I think that just it goes to show you that I think that when it came to the conversation of, is it a Bo thing? Is it a Peyton thing? Is it just the way of the offense? It's a both thing. But even then, I shout out Colin Cowherd for making this point, because it is a very true point. Who are some of the best teams in NFL history?
Browns.
I said best team. But some of the best teams in NFL history, the New England Patriots and the Kansas City Chiefs, a lot of people talk about, is it an Andy Reid type oiled machine, or is it about Patrick Mahomes and how well he executes? Is it a Tom Brady machine, or is it a Bill Belichick machine? Does it really matter? As long as they are on the same page and it is equally in the execution for what you see from a head coach and staff perspective to what you're seeing on the field, as long as the marriage between a quarterback and a head coach is the best of both worlds right now, that is all you can ask for, because the execution is going to end up being on point. And right now, for what we saw in that game against the Dallas Cowboys, and frankly, still to this point of the season, the execution has been pretty solid, except for a few points, like the overthrows specifically in that Cowboys game. You rarely saw some overthrows in that game. Bo was on point. The downfield passing game, was on point. And frankly, the one part that I thought was fantastic, where Bo was spectacular last year, was the intermediate middle of the field. And I think that is starting to be a thing and a theme, I should say, with Evan Ingram. And I think that, for Evan Ingram going forward and being used as a tight end more and more, I think that is going to end up being a theme where I think they still get a tight end, but it's one where I think the Evan Ingram and the uptick of him being used in the middle part of the field and Bo starting to trust him a little bit more on those downs, you're going to see an uptick in Evan Ingram here as the season is continuing to progress more and more.
Yeah, and Cam, I kind of want to continue on with what you were saying. I mean, you look at NFL quarterbacks, right? Like throughout history, the great ones, the good ones, any quarterback that's any good at anything. Look at Tom Brady, look at Peyton Manning. Did you get it?
Yes.
Nice. You look at Tom Brady, look at Peyton Manning, look at Patrick Mahomes, look at Lamar Jackson. Every quarterback has their own little rhythm, right? Like they want their schedule laid out the same every single week, every single day when it comes to football, so they can get into that rhythm. You have Bo Nix, who's in his second year. You got Sean Payton, who's in his second year with him, right? Like maybe they just haven't quite meshed yet, and that's kind of what we were seeing at the beginning of the season is Sean has his way of doing things. Bo has his way of doing things. It's not working. Let's get together, change it up a little bit. And now this is what we're going to start seeing, right?
Yeah, I agree. And I think that that's why we really do need to strictly look at what happened that Wednesday. Like, I mean, will it result in wins every single week? Absolutely. Yep. Absolutely not. I hope it does. We're, like it goes 17-0, every single season. But I think it falls back on this is about growth. This is about growth of a team and growth of a franchise and growth of a quarterback. Like, and the fact it came from Bo should tell us a whole lot, allegedly. Like, should tell us a whole lot. And again, this is a quarterback that is a film junkie. He is a film junkie. I'm sure Izzy hates the fact that he probably doesn't get much sleep at night because he's spending time in front of a projector watching film every single night. But like I just think that
she's fine.
I don't know. I don't know how families work in that regard. But no, I just think that like he is a film junkie and he comes from a people say all the time about a PK kid. He comes from a quarterback like family, like his dad was a quarterback. It is just ingrained in his brain to live and breathe football. And so it's like, if something happens because of this and the offense moves forward and forward and forward due to chemistry, I think we're going to be looking more and more at that specific Wednesday change.
Yeah. And then you go from Bo Nix and Sean Payton to Troy Franklin, RJ Harvey, Pat Bryant, Marvin Mims. We've seen Sherfield on the field a couple times, right? Like there's all these guys that we can take advantage of that I feel like are getting better. But then that also throws into question, where does that leave Sutton? I'm not saying that he's bad. I'm not saying he's being replaced. But he did start seeing a drop in targets, especially in this game, but against the Giants as well. Like he's not receiving as many targets, and he has had some drop issues. So are we starting to see more of the Bo Nix, Troy Franklin connection that we thought we were going to see because of the past of those two? Where does that kind of leave us with wide receivers? Because there's all these trade rumors about us going after wide receiver. I just don't see one fitting in here. We have too many as it is.
Well, I think it's more so about just the right fit each week, who's going to get the looks. And these past couple of weeks, it's been Franklin. Mims has gotten a few looks here and there. Bryant's gotten some looks. But as far as trading for a wide receiver, it seems they feel like there's a specific role on this team that's missing right now. There's a specific type of wide receiver that they're after that's just not on this team right now. And blocking. I think it might be Rashid Shaheed. No, you've got a blocking wide receiver. That's Pat Bryant.
I just figured that's what we seem to be going after. So my answer is going to be blocking.
Yeah, that's
fair. But you want blocking? Yeah,
that's fair. But we do have Bryant, who's a really good blocking wide receiver. But I do think maybe they're looking for somebody who has that second gear of speed, or even that third or fourth gear beyond what Marvin Mims and Troy Franklin have. Somebody who can stretch the field even more. That way, Mims and Franklin can operate more in the intermediate area of the field. That's why I'm looking at Rashid Shaheed personally.
Yeah, the one area where I actually, by the way, personally, I do not think the Broncos trade for wide receiver. I'm just letting that out there right now. I do not think they trade for wide receiver. But I agree. I think it's Rashid Shaheed. I did find a stat that I think is very fascinating because it doesn't seem like he would be in the top 5, but in 50% of the attempts or receptions in the NFL right now, Troy Franklin is top 5 in yards after catch per reception in the National Football League. He is tied with Jamar Chase, like in that regard. So like, but it's interesting because you look at some of these games, you don't really feel like you're seeing. You feel like you're not actually seeing a bunch of yards after catch, and I think that a lot of that is probably due to the screen game and everything like that. But I just think that when you look specifically at that wide receiving group, like
you need salt, Gage.
When you look specifically at the wide receiver group, like there's just so much that they have as far as diversity. I really don't think that they add to that room. And plus, like you're starting to kind of see things unfold a little bit with Pat Bryant, specifically with Troy Franklin. And it comes back to what we said about the top, about like, is it really something about the rookies and the development and everything? It really falls back on that. And what we've seen from Troy Franklin, look, the Pat Bryant we see this year is not going to be the Pat Bryant we see in 2 years. Like he looks like an absolute stud right now in the making, but he'll be kind of like just a guy right now, just based on this year. But in year 2, maybe even year 3, that's something I would want to be paying attention to just a little bit more. And then regarding Cortland, it happens. It's frustrating in the moment seeing a drop like that, Yeah, I really like the fact that, Jeff brought this up because Rod Smith had the case of the dropsies. Demaryius Thomas had the case of the dropsies. The best wide receivers in Broncos history had the case of the dropsies, but yet they still perform in some of the biggest moments of what you need. And that is exactly Cortland Sutton to a T. And so it happens. And also we're talking about a wide receiver that absolutely doesn't care. He had a game last year that was 0 targets, 0 receptions. And did he whine about it? Absolutely not. He did not whine about it. He didn't care. He absolutely did not care. They won the game, and that is all that matters. He is the ultimate pro. He is the ultimate teammate. So I don't think they really add to that room at all.
Yeah.
Jerry Jeudy would have whined.
Yep. Of course. He still does. Even when he gets a catch, he still whines. So we obviously have the Houston Texans next. We just faced a team that had probably the worst defense in the league. Now we're going against a team who statistically has the best defense in the league. And I do want to throw this out there. If there was ever a time for PS2 to be hurt and be out 3 or 4 games, now is that time. Before we get into, right, during the bye, before we get into the big stretch of the season. Because there's every possibility we go 2-1 over these next 3 games. We're 8-3 going into the bye. You know what I mean? But specifically the next game against the Texans, I think that it's going to be a defensive battle. But I think that the Broncos offense is better than the Texans offense. Maybe that's just me.
I agree.
I'm with you.
But it still falls on the defensive matchup. And, and it's one where, I think that the Broncos, relatively speaking, can afford to lose this game. But I think that, you look at it, this is going to be a very interesting game because I think for specifically the Texans side of things to flip this on them, the reason why the Texans
Gage is having internet problems and cramps, but other than that, we're doing good.
The reason
And
why
Glenn doesn't show up, but that's fine.
the reason why the Texans feel like they probably would want to win this game is they got to protect CJ Stroud. That's all this is going to end up falling on from probably the Texas and them talking. It's all going to be precedent on them protecting CJ Stroud. This has 5 sacks minimum, like for the Denver Broncos. Like, and people were joking on the timeline about, watch the Broncos break the sack record in this game. Like, if you're the Houston Texans and you're this offensive line or even CJ Stroud, this is a really bad matchup for you from a defensive side of things. It's frankly worse-ish than the Broncos going up against the Texans defense.
The Cowboys defense, you mean? Oh no, I see what you mean.
Yeah.
I'm with you actually. Like the way that this Texans offensive line has been playing, it is not sustainable. They are not playing good football. They cannot pass protect. CJ Stroud's running for his life. I feel like CJ Stroud has become the most underrated quarterback in football right now. People are talking about CJ Stroud like he's regressed. No, not really. He's still playing like he did in his rookie year, but his offensive line took about 10 steps back, and his receiving core has taken about 5 steps back. So the situation around him has gotten a lot worse, and he's basically being asked to make chicken salad out of chicken shit every single week. This pass protection for Houston can be a big problem, and it's the reason why I think the Texans are going to lose this game. It's going to be a close defensive battle, and Denver's going to have to play well on the other side of the ball, but I don't think that this Texans offense stands a chance because Nick Bonito, Jonathan Cooper, Zach Allen, John Franklin Myers, DJ Jones, Malcolm Roach, Jonah Ellis, Dondre Tillman, all of those caps are going to be breathing down CJ Stroud's neck all game long, and I just don't know if the Texans are going to be able to sustain anything on offense. They've had some stinkers this year on offense. They went up to Seattle, and they couldn't do anything. So yeah. I have a gut feeling it might be one of those kind of games for the Texans offense.
And by the way, Tillman needs to work on his speed a little bit. Right? Like he had that interception.
He just ran out of gas.
He was puking the crap out of everybody, got wide open, and then got caught. Like, come on, man, turn on the afterburners.
Yeah, bro just ran out of gas, man.
Well, and obviously Greenlaw's back. And obviously it would have been great to have him for the Cowboys. But I will say, what a game to come back to if you're Greenlaw.
Against DeMeco Ryans.
Against DeMeco Ryans, like the guy who coached you. And it's another game where it's physicality meets physicality. And the fact we have Dre Greenlaw coming back, who is pissed off with the fact that he was suspended. Yeah, Dre Greenlaw is going to end up having, I think, what did he have? 6 tackles in 2 minutes? Joking. But like 6 tackles and like 15 to 20% snaps. He might actually end up with 20 tackles in this game. Like I would not be the least bit surprised. Like he is going to play like a man possessed in this game. And if I'm CJ Stroud, there's your spy. There's anytime he's moving around, he is going to be like, I mean, you're the guy like the matador holding the sign. He's the one coming after you, and he ain't going to stop you. Yeah. So like, yeah, he's going to be coming for him all game.
And I think this is a perfect example of what Denver's D needs to do against the Texans. We are great at sacks, great at pass rush. We've gotten better at tackling, but one thing that we have not been good at is turnovers.
I don't know.
We got to get those fumbles. We got to get those interceptions.
As of late.
I'm not you're right. And I'm not saying that we're not getting better or going to get better.
Yeah.
But if you had to pick out a weakness of this defense in these last 6 games, we haven't gotten the turnovers that I think we should have. There were balls that hit corners in the hand and they dropped, or linebackers in the hand they dropped, or there was a ball on the ground and we just didn't recover it. We've got
or the officials say that we didn't recover even though we did.
Or the officials suck, but we have to get those turnovers. We have to get those recoveries.
I agree. But if you're looking at the last 2 weeks, it's starting to kind of trend.
Yeah, we had 2 against the Cowboys, right? 2 picks.
And 1 against 3 turnovers because, again, the officials suck.
I think by the way, this is a tangent on this. I think you should challenge that play. I think that should be a challengeable play.
Oh, I agree.
When there is a what appears to be firm control from a player, aka Jaquan McMillan, an offensive lineman or anybody has no right and no business to come into a pile, rip said ball, and have it as their own possession. If it's truly possession by Jaquan McMillan and it's abundantly obvious that it looked like it was, that should be a challengeable play.
I agree.
Now,
that was absolutely
okay.
cool.
I want to address this one a little bit before we get going. Cairo232 says the weakness is Singleton and will always be until he's gone, sadly. Now, I want to say in the last 3 games, he hasn't really been a problem. And I think that there's a couple reasons for that. One, I think Malcolm Roach made all the difference. Malcolm Roach coming back and being able to pick up those blocks, being able to get those pressures has helped a lot. The other one, Gage talked about earlier, moving Barron onto tight ends so that you don't have Singleton out there by himself makes a big difference. Because you look at these last couple games, Singleton hasn't been a problem.
No,
and he has not been horrible. He's had his moments, don't get me wrong. He's not good, but he hasn't been a complete and utter disaster where, as Mark Schlereth would say, he's taking a dump on his dumping his helmet every single game.
Yeah. The only part that I thought was hysterical, he was doing his job, but the part that I thought was hysterical in the rep against the Cowboys where he was quite literally moving in slow motion, like with the like knowing what his rep was and like the tight end and everything, but he was moved like he knew the play, but like he was trying to contemplate, okay, do I go for Dak or do I leave my responsibility? That is a great microcosm of who Alex Singleton is. Like, so I mean, I agree. I think he's a bit of a liability, but I think that, it is one where I think that Jahdae Barron's stuff in coverage, I think, is making up for a lot of that as of late in the last couple of weeks.
Yeah,
Frankly, I was going to say the guy who should be getting a lot of praise as of late in the last, 3 weeks is the other compadre, Justin Sternad.
Mm-hmm.
Justin Sternad is the one who should be getting a heck of a lot of praise in the last 3 weeks.
Yeah, Jeff Bryan talks about Singleton being on special teams for Philly because he's a tackle machine. That's what you want from Singleton, right? That's what you get from him. He gets tackles.
He also misses them.
There are times he misses tackles. I get that, but I think he has 70 tackles through the so far this season. That's a buttload. That's a lot.
No,
That's a lot of tackles. But the great part about Denver's defense is that you have those guys that can help cover down for a weakness and not have them take away from their game, right? Like, again, Malcolm Roach, Jahdae Barron, Jaquan McMillan, Huafanga, Brandon Jones, DJ Jones, Tillman. Like, you've got all these guys that can fill in and kind of help. JFM, all these guys that can fill in and kind of help so that it doesn't become a weakness. Now, Alex Singleton in coverage, please, dear God, don't let them throw it for Alex Singleton. But
that's when you just clench your ass cheeks and pray.
Right? But if you have Jahdae Barron covering a tight end and then you've got Brandon Jones or Huafunga over top of Singleton, they're going to think twice about throwing his direction. They probably still will because where in God's name else are they going to throw it? Because it's like Singleton's completion percentage with quarterbacks is like 10,000%. I'm just throwing that out there.
No, it's insane.
You have guys that can cover down, which is why this defense is looking better and playing better.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. I agree. And I love your point about Malcolm Roach because the run defense these last few weeks has been so good. Javonte Williams, there arguably hasn't been a better running back in the league this year. And the Broncos made him look like Denver Javonte Williams. So
that's what he needs to look like every week.
Yeah.
I mean, Malcolm Roach, he makes all the difference.
It is funny to me.
Say what you want, though. I'll take Dobbins over Williams any day.
100%. I love Javonte. Nothing against Javonte there, but Dobbins has been awesome for us.
It is kind of funny that to me, like when you think of like the top 5, and there's probably some relatively speaking that are in there, but like the ones that are like that have Broncos ties, I think is funny because Javonte Williams is having a great year with Dallas, a fantastic year with Dallas. J.K. Dobbins signs with Denver, having a phenomenal year. An encore that we probably need to be talking about more. An encore to the fact that he was second to Comeback Player of the Year award to Joe Burrow last year. So he's having an encore year, and then Talanoa Hufanga, he signs with, the Broncos, and he's having an unbelievable year to go along with Brandon Jones. So it's funny that like 3 of the 5 probably best signings in free agency have Broncos ties or are Broncos themselves.
Yeah. All right, let's go. Score predictions against the Texans. Obviously, Gage, I know you got a hold on to yours.
Yep. I already kind of revealed my thoughts, though. I think this is going to be a Broncos victory. I think they match up well in the trenches, and this game is won and lost in the trenches.
They match up so much better than they did against the Russell Wilson year. When Singleton,
we don't talk about him.
It had that boneheaded penalty.
I forgot about that.
But they do match up better than they did that year, and I am to a certain degree with Big E Bronco on this. I think that the one thing I will say is, like, don't be surprised if this gets to be a 2-score game. If there was one where I can see this being pulled away late by Denver, this is that kind of game, because it's one where I think it's tight all throughout this game. And I think you're talking about one that's going to end up being probably, if Denver pulls ahead, it's going to be either a 23-17 or it's going to end up being a 27-17 type game where the Broncos pull away late with a touchdown late, and it's going to be a little bit too much for the Texans to take over. The offensive line woes are just such a problem for me with the Houston Texans, and the wide receiver room is leaving a little bit to desire. And I also think that the wide receiver room in general matches up stylistically, even without Surtain, I think, like matches up still stylistically well with that cornerback room. And frankly, Jaquan McMillan on Jalen Noel, I think, is going to be one of the, frankly, I think if there's anything to take away from this game is for what we saw in that Giants game, for how Jackson Dart was going after Wan'Dale Robinson and Jaquan McMillan the entire game. That, I think, is going to end up being kind of the game plan for the Houston Texans in this, if they can try and expose, Jaquan McMillan a little bit. And you might actually see a bit of some switcheroos at times with Barron and McMillan. But I think that this has a chance. I'm saying 20-17, but this has a chance to be a 27-17 game with the touchdown late for Denver.
Yeah, I think I'm going to go. Go ahead.
I will also say, if CJ Stroud gets hot and if the Broncos offense gets cold, I could see this game going the other way. We could be sitting here right now this time next week talking about a loss for those reasons, but I like how Denver matches up with their run game. I like how they match up with their pass rush. I just don't see how the Texans are going to be able to outduel the Broncos in those areas.
Yeah. I think that, again, it's going to be a defensive battle. I do think that both defenses give up more points than we think they're going to, but I don't think that the Texans have the firepower on offense to keep up. I do think it's going to be a fairly close game. I think it's going to be 28-24 Broncos. I was going to say 28-21, but games never end like 7 points apart, 14 points apart. It's always got to be like 5 points, 4 points, 2 points.
They do if it's Nebraska against Northwestern.
Yeah, well, it's because it's Nebraska. But yeah, I think it's going to be 28-24. So that means that in the next 2 games, we're going to win both. Don't even talk to me about the Raiders. Just pass that one over. We don't even need to have a show next week.
It's Thursday night, though. Dude, that is the one.
It's the Raiders.
I get it.
Like, if there was ever a game that was like guaranteed, that's it.
Mm-hmm. Aren't they wearing the throwbacks again?
Yes, they actually are. So that's the good news.
Us or the Raiders?
We are.
The Raiders always wear their throwbacks.
No, we are. We're wearing our throwbacks on Thursday night.
Good.
Under the lights, prime time. That's a good move.
Yeah. Now, again, obviously, I'm kidding. We're going to have an episode. We're going to talk about the Raiders. Am I concerned about the Raiders? No. But we'll talk about that next week.
Yeah.
So all 3 of us have the Broncos beating the Texans.
Yep.
No.
Okay, so we're thinking 7-2 going into the Raiders.
Yep.
This is going to be fun.
Possibly 8-2 going into.
Right, and we have to, again, like we talk about Broncos being first in the AFC West, number 3 in the playoff seed. But you have to remember, if the Broncos lose and the Chargers and the Chiefs win, we automatically go to 3.
Woohoo!
So we got to stay strong. We got to hold on to it.
Yep.
All right. Anything else? Did we cover it all?
I think we covered it all.
All right. Well, we want to thank everybody for joining us in the chat. Jeff Bryan, Biggie Bronco. Who else we got here? Cairo 232.
Big Mike.
Big Mike. I'm going to try to. There's so many. I'm not even going to be able to try to make all that.
Why is it showing the full username now? You know why it's doing that?
I don't know. I don't like that.
I don't know. I have no idea. Maybe we should just start doing I don't know. Whatever. Let's see if it does it to me too. Here, let's see if it does it to me. Test. No, it doesn't. I don't know. Not on us. I have no idea. We'll figure it out later. We do want to thank everybody for joining us in the chat, though. It's always great when you guys can chime in, give us your opinions, give us your ideas. Maybe you bring up something we haven't thought about. We love it when we can talk about that kind of stuff. Make sure you head on over to the MHRT Network. Check out all the shows we have. We got shows Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday. Bill wanted me to make a special note that he's not having a show on Friday. It's going to be the following Monday after the game. Because of some weird stuff, I don't even know. I stopped paying attention.
Boo!
But make sure you tune in to the MHRT Network shows. Find the show you like. We got the 5280 on Tuesday, Wild Wild West, and Mainly Broncos, hosted by Cameron Parker. On Wednesday nights, you got Clusterfuck on Thursday and Broncos Buzz on Friday. Just not this Friday.
Yeah.
Following Monday. And then head on over to Broncos Syndicate. YouTube channel hosted by Gage Madrid. Make sure that you hit the subscribe, the thumbs up, and the like there. We're aiming on there for 8,000 subscribers. We're aiming on the MHRT Network for 2,000 subscribers. So please go and hit that share, hit that thumbs up, hit that subscribe, hit the like, hit everything you can think of, just not the negative stuff. Don't hit that. You don't want that. But again, we want to thank everybody for joining us. We love the Broncos. We love Broncos country. We will see you guys later. Peace.
Fast lane when I pass in the street, bag of money in the passenger seat. Simcoe's been asking for me on the road from the west to the east. Way up, I might never come down, cause the coast's racking up the